Welcome to the Charles Billingsley podcast.
Hello.
Hey, Charles. I'm just about ready to say, it's Charles Billingsley here.
I couldn't wait.
Yeah.
I was so excited to be here.
And Adam's here.
Yes,
I'm
I am.
excited about Adam.
I was just waiting on Brandon to say my
introduce-
name and not like interject.
Oh, we'll start over. You can say mine.
Hey, guys, I'm Brandon Pickett along with Charles Billingsley.
Hi.
Yeah. He did the same thing. And he did, but you didn't do Heidi Ho like Adam.
No. Adam's a Heidi Ho guy.
I don't think I said Heidi.
Heidi
You
Ho.
didn't this time, but you sometimes
you
do.
sometimes do Heidi Ho.
You're one to do that.
Yeah, you are prone to do a
I
Heidi
have a
Ho.
proclivity to Heidi Ho's.
Hey,
I don't think that came out right.
no, it didn't.
It's a softball. And you are.
I'm letting that one go by.
Okay.
I'm letting it go right by.
Hey, it's a good day. We're excited. We're happy because we have one of the most wonderful guests on the planet with us today. Millions of people know this lady, and she just happens to be the genuine article. We've done lots of conferences with her, been around the country with her, really, and she is so sweet, so kind. In fact, right before we came on, she said she'd been praying for my family. I mean, for crying out loud. Here's the thing. She really was.
Yeah.
You know some people say that. She really does.
No.
She's the real deal.
And her claim to fame is that she was the very first guest on the Charles Billingsley podcast.
Wait. You said the very first.
You very did.
I was gonna let that roll.
No, I couldn't.
Okay.
I mean, you know what? And okay, that works too, I guess.
Okay.
But she was our very first podcast guest.
And you know she's special when you ask her to come back, Charles.
She agreed.
And she agreed. So that's
It's really not
miracles.
We asked. It's more that she agreed to come back after the first time.
That's the real story. So let's bring her on.
Hey, Karen Kingsbury, we're so glad to have you here.
Thank you so much. Heidi ho. Here we are.
She said hi.
I had to. How could I not? Come on.
I love it.
So cool. We're so honored to have you back. Seriously, we love you. And you really were our very first podcast.
Right out of the gate. Thank you so much for just agreeing then and agreeing now.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's so fun. I mean, Charles, anytime I get a chance to just chat with you and hear how you've been and catch you up, I mean, I hope that just everyone listening knows, this is your best half hour. This is so much fun being with you.
Oh, wow. Thank you very much. Well, we're thrilled to have you back. And as always, you got a million things going on. Because your life is just amazing. And you also have all these children that you're still raising. Many of those, I guess several of them are out of the house now, aren't they?
Pretty much. They're pretty much all out of the house now. We have one more living at home, but otherwise, they're two live out of state. And the ones that are in the Nashville area, everyone has their own place.
Amazing. I didn't realize that. So you got one left. Several of your children have come to Liberty.
Yes, pretty much all of the boys went to Liberty, which 5 of them loved Liberty. And then our daughter, you probably remember this, but we took a tour of Liberty the first time we went. And Kelsey, it was too late. She was engaged and she'd already finished college.
Mm-hmm.
And, there was a moment, tears formed in her eyes. I said, honey, what is going on? Why are you sad? And she said, how did I miss this? How did I not know about it? So once we knew about it, everyone was Liberty.
Yeah, it's amazing. We were talking about this in a meeting yesterday, how Liberty University is still quite a big secret to a lot of the people in the country. And then they show up, in a few weeks, we've got the president of the Grammy Association who is in charge of all that. They're the ones who certify gold records and things. And they're coming to Liberty. They've never seen it. And we can't wait because they're going to be blown away. It's an amazing place.
The music building? I mean, they're going to have every event there.
I hope so. Well, wouldn't that be fun to host the Grammys here one day?
Adam, maybe it'll be the MD if they do.
I would gladly
that way a
sign
little
up
bit,
for
right?
that.
That's right. So, knowing you, Karen, you probably have a Grammy. You've done everything else.
I did a little songwriting. And I, you know what I can't do with songwriting? I can't understand how you write a song and everyone, the 2 or 3 writers in the room agree, whoa, this is it. Okay, we nailed it. There it is. There's the song. And then everyone goes, okay, so do you want to do it again tomorrow? I'm like,
I know.
What about your hit song you just wrote? That has to go somewhere. Everyone has to hear it. But you write 100 songs for one cut. And it's just can you imagine if I had to write 100 books before we could get one published? That would be, it's hard to fathom. Like everything that you write, Charles, is gold. So it should all be available, right? But just
Well, I really wish it was
Grammys.
gold. Nothing I write turns to. In fact, it's not even plastic. But we do have dozens of listeners, and we appreciate that. But you know what, though, you're right. Like when you write a song, people that write songs are prolific writers, and they do. Here's the amazing thing: they write the song not necessarily for the end, but because of the process. They love the process.
I heard John Foreman, who is the lead singer of Switchfoot.
Yeah.
Writes, he was talking about songwriting. He goes, I try to write a song a day.
Good grief.
And he goes, a lot of them aren't really good. But I look at it like if I was a person who made chairs. If I build a chair every day, some chairs are going to be good. A lot of chairs are going to be bad. But over the arc of time, each chair gets a little bit better.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, that's good for life.
Okay, so yeah, and that kind of is a nice segue into what you do, Karen, because you have written some songs, but predominantly what you do is you write novels. Started off writing articles, I think, when you started.
Crime. You were the crime reporter.
Crime reporter.
Before that, I did sports. It was so crazy. I did sports for the LA Times. Dodgers, Lakers, the whole thing. And then I went from there to the front page doing crime or whatever the main big story was. I had the wrap up Sunday feature on it. So yeah, did that early 20s. Cool.
And then suddenly you find yourself really passionate about writing novels.
Writing novels is one of those things. This is where it's like songwriting. We just went to a songwriters night. That's a big Nashville thing. You go to a songwriter night.
Oh yeah.
Usually a fundraiser. And Alan Shamblin is a songwriter who lives in the area. He's Christian, great guy. I didn't know him before, but they bring in, it's a couple of songwriters that we know from church. And then they bring in a guest, and the songwriter was there. And he was talking about the process of creating, which is what you said, is the process of creating is like so much where the love of all of this comes from. And it's the same with books. And he said that he was writing a song with his co-writer, one of his co-writers, and they finished it and they stopped and they looked at each other. And his writing partner said, I want you to remember this feeling, because it's not about the money or the awards. It's what this feels like right now. And it was a song that went on to be recorded by Bonnie Raitt, I Can't Make You Love Me, which is...
Oh, that's a pretty good one. I can make you love me.
That's it. So when he was saying that, and this, like, my husband took me, on a date, that this is what our date was, the songwriter night. We just love doing that. It's so fun. The writer piece of our soul that God made in us is the same for a songwriter or for a novelist, because we're making up a story. We're putting it in a way that makes people feel something. And as he was explaining that, remember this feeling, I mean, I had tears in my eyes. I was like, okay, that I resonate with so well. So yeah, when I write novels, I feel the pleasure of God, and I'm laughing and crying right along with it.
Wow. And it's the process that you love so much, which is why you spend so much time doing it, right?
That's so true. I mean, it definitely, when release day comes for a book, for me, and I have one coming up, but you just release it to God. Like, I've done everything I can do. I had he put the movie in my head. I've outlined it, fleshed out the characters, wrote the story, edited it. I'm ready. I love it. And now it's not like I have to be biting my fingernails, worrying about how it will do. I'm releasing it to God. I'm releasing it to the world, sure, but I'm releasing it to the Lord. Now it's his turn to do whatever he's going to do with it.
When it comes to writing, I want to ask you a question, because in songwriting, there's a discovery that takes place as you're writing it. Usually you get the beginning of an idea, and then it's always fun to start chipping away at it. And then you kind of start seeing the arc. You find some like golden nuggets along the way, some really great lines, but there's a discovery as you go through it. I can only imagine, because songs are basically my context for writing, no long form. What's the discovery process like on something that is novel? It's a large story. Is it day by day? Is it No, I've got hinge points that I know I'm getting to, and so I'm going to connect those. Or is it truly just as you write, things unveil themselves?
It's a little of both. When I write, some people don't have an outline. I do. And so I have to love my outline. So there's the initial discovery process happens when I write that. And then I'm like, okay, here's 30 chapters. I see how they fit together. I see the arc of the story. I understand where it's going with. I see the inciting incidents. I understand how the characters will change and morph. That's a satisfaction, in and of itself. In some ways, like that's a completion. And I could almost walk away from it at that point. I feel like I've done something, but I haven't. So then you sit down at your laptop and you start actually writing it. Now those discoveries happen chapter by chapter. Like I have a paragraph of direction for myself for that chapter, but then the chapter will be 2,500 words. So as I'm writing, it's like the characters are I really often feel like I am the stenographer and I am just capturing what God has in my head. So it's a really interesting thing. I'll finish a chapter and I can sometimes take a beat and be like, wow, like that was so good. And that sounds arrogant. And it isn't arrogant because it's the gift that God gave me. It's that discovery of like, wow, okay, I see how this is working out now. Like he knew before I knew. And so as he's revealing that to me and I'm capturing it on the page, that's an incredible experience.
I bet.
So you do begin with the end in mind in large part. Some people I think, but other writers don't. They just like write and discover where it ends up. Is that right?
They do, but I think that those people might take a little longer to write a book. So, with my life, so it's been kind of busy, and I need to love the outline. To me, writing a book is a little bit like swimming across the ocean, and that's okay. I can do it. I've done it before, but it's still hard, and I definitely don't want to swim 9 miles in the wrong direction. So that's why I have an outline.
Sounds like writing a sermon too.
Right. I'm sure you got to start.
Yeah,
you got to start with something you love.
All of us have heard sermons where they ran 9 miles in the wrong direction.
Oh, goodness. What advice would you give young writers who at times have these blocks and they really want to do it and they have a heart to do it? What would you say to them how to get over those times?
Well, I mean, I think that's where having an outline is really helpful. That if you can't do an outline, you have a writer's block on that, then you just need to spend more time maybe praying about your story or doing more research. That can help too. Like that, my book coming out in November is about World War II or set against the backdrop of World War II. And so sometimes I had to stop. I wanted to write the creative part, and I had to stop and do more research so that I could understand where the story was going to go. It wasn't really writer's block. It was, I'm not versed enough in this and I don't have enough knowledge on this to be able to take the characters across the Pacific. I can't do it. So I have to go back and do some actual documentary watching and reading to understand. That's helpful. And other times for me, it's just, you have to make an appointment with the keyboard. I mean, you have to find that time. Is it an hour, whatever? If you're just, it might not be writer's block. It might be that you haven't scheduled time to actually sit down and write.
And I don't know how you are, but I have to do that when I'm writing a sermon. And I have to build in time on the front end to just sit and be still. I can't just sit down and start writing. You got to spend some time really formulating your thoughts, don't you?
Absolutely. I mean, the verse, be still and know that I am God. Like he's the creator, and we only create as a little c, as a lowercase c, because he's the creator. So as we begin, you don't have time not to spend time with the creator if you're going to create anything.
So for those of you listening, if you want to write, if you want to create, even if you're preparing a speech for your workplace, build in extra time on the front end to just sit and be still and let God work within you this creativity that only comes from him. And you'll discover that is not wasted time. It feels like it at first. But I would also encourage you, and I don't know how you are with this, Karen, but my guess is in the creative process, you have to set your phone aside and the emails and all the noise so that you really can get focused on the creative process.
Absolutely. In fact, sometimes I would take a couple days and maybe go to the beach or an Airbnb and try to really just get focused. Having kids, it's just so, I want to be here. I want, if my grandkids drop by, I want to be here to be the one to greet them. So now I've found a really cool new way to do it. And that is we have a theater downstairs in our house. So I'll go down to the theater and I'll put on a beach scene. I love the beach. I just feel the presence of God there so well. And so I go down to the theater. I put on like Fiji, like a 10-hour video of the waves crashing at Fiji, which you can find on YouTube. It's wonderful. And then I dim the lights, turn off the phone. That has to be far away. And I give myself like a reward. So if I write 2,500 words, 3,000 words, whatever, then I get to check my phone and see if there's something there that I missed.
That's awesome. That's perfect. What would your reward be, Adam?
I don't even know, because mine comes like in the song space. It's so sporadic, at least for me.
Yeah.
It's sitting on a lawnmower.
Whoa, that's just punishment for me.
What?
There's no way I would enjoy that.
Cathartic.
Like some of my best, and I say best, and they're all just in my phone or in my notebook, because it's not like they've gone anywhere, but it's a practice of writing. Some of the best stuff I think I've come up with is sitting on a lawnmower. But
lawnmower moving, or are you just sitting on it?
No, he doesn't actually mow the lawn. He just sits on it.
No, I actually am performing.
That's right. That's right. That's his theater.
Yeah. Or it's voice notes. So like I totally identify with getting rid of the technology, but like you get a hook or you get something. I got to
figure out.
I got to record it before it's gone.
Yeah. That's how I've written many a song. Woke up in the middle of the night with a melody going through my head. Go into the bathroom or somewhere where Shay can't hear me and wake her up, and I just and of course, I've been sleeping for 4 hours, so I can't sing it all.
It's real down here.
This is what it sounds like. Yeah, but I mean that's literally how I made for this. I sang it in the bathroom at like 4 a.m. and then went to the producer the next day. Things like that are just, but we all have our ways. But the key to me, and I think, Karen, you'll agree with this, is that you have to shut off the noise so that you can think. And that's a bigger principle than just writing.
I think that's why sometimes, a coffee shop will work, because the noise shuts off the noise. It's like this background noise that I don't know what, that's an interesting thing. And sometimes I'll change the video to a coffee shop in France. I can really go anywhere on YouTube. They have these 10, 12-hour clips, videos that run. So sometimes, but it's all about shutting out the noise. I mean, you have to, everything that's trying to vie for your attention must be gone. And then once you settle into that zone, I can write 4 hours and it feels like 10 minutes. It's so interesting. Time just stops. I'm sure you can resonate with that.
Oh yeah, it does. And it's a beautiful thing, because when you get to the end of it, you like kind of read back and you go, wow, I didn't even think I could do that. And it's like the Lord just sort of helps you through this. So let's get into the stories, actually, because obviously you're very well known for the Baxter family and lots of other novels and things that you've done. You have this one particular book that you wrote that is to your little babies, I guess, and I forget the name of it, because I always purposefully shut her off when she starts reading this book, because I get emotionally just torn up.
Oh, the one more last.
One more last. Yeah, where we're reading about, one more, there's no more this, no more that, because it's about your kids growing up.
The last sentence, let me hold you longer. Let me hold you longer. That's right.
Let me hold you longer. Good grief, just the title alone.
You won't believe this, but just last weekend, some woman was reading it on TikTok, and I don't have TikTok, but my younger people in my life who do said it went viral and like 500,000 views in a weekend. And people were, and all it was her little caption was, I get it now. And her whole point was that her dad used to read to her son, Zachary, when he was 3, and like, he'd get so many pages in and then he would just start like crying. He couldn't finish it. And she'd be like, it's sweet, but why can't you finish the book? Like, she'd read it and not have that same experience. Well, last week she dropped him off at college, And the whole way
Oh,
home,
good
all she
grief.
could think about was let me hold you longer. And so she said, I want to share it with you. So she's looking in the camera and she's reading Let Me Hold You Longer, and she's wiping tears and she's trying to get through it. And I can't watch it without crying, Charles. Like, it's seriously, guys, like it's hurts. It's so sweet, it's so genuine. And then at the end, she just takes a pause and she says, I get it now. And she's like, she gets it now that she's had to say goodbye at the end of the journey. My last page in that book is, for come some bright fall morning, you'll be going far away. College life will beckon in a brilliant sort of way. One last hug, one last goodbye, one quick and hurried kiss, one last time to understand just how much you'll be missed. I'll watch you leave and think how fast our time together passed. So let me hold on longer, God, to every precious last.
You're sweaty eyed right
I'm
now.
out crying now. You're killing me, Karen. See, the thing is that like we would do these conferences and she would always read that book, and I'm going through the growing up of my sons, and now they're 22 and 23. And just that one little last page brings back all these emotions and memories. And
Adam, go. Please take it.
Serious.
Adam doesn't have any guy. He's never sent anyone to college yet. And there's a whole different other world that it just hit me when you said that.
now you're crying, Brandon.
Okay,
Good.
So please help.
I gotta bring some testosterone into the conversation. No, my kids. So I've got 15, 12, 10, and 8. And here's what I'm learning at this stage. 0 to 10 feels like forever. Getting a child to, I think there's an independence and there's a pure pragmatist functionality that comes along when they hit double digits.
Just getting them through the day at first. Is, yeah. Then
10 to 18 goes by like 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And it's like every time you turn around, there's another milestone.
Well, one of mine, Karen, I have a son about the same age as one of your sons. In fact, they went to school together. Andrew is his name. And they were actually knew each other when Andrew lived in Nashville. He's right. They were hanging out, and and he just got married in April.
Oh, good grief.
And I can't believe it. I cannot believe my son is married. Yeah. How did that happen? Now, praise the Lord, we have 3 others that still got some. We still have some time, but that's a great. Oh, I love that.
And what I love about what you do, Karen, is you have a gift, a God-given gift that is able to tap into those emotions of people, but also not just for the emotion's sake, but it's a principle. You're teaching principles and values through all of this. And even in your novels, you do that, which just to segue into some of the new stuff you're doing, there's a story you tell that takes place in one of your novels and I'll let you tell it, but this particular character dies.
What?
And I shouldn't have told you that. Okay, I'm not there yet. Okay, so anyway, you tell the story, Karen, but it springboard into a new book that's coming out in November. So tell the story and then tell us about the new book that's coming because of this one little moment.
Well, the book that's coming out called Just Once is about Ervil Holland. And Ervil was one of my favorite characters. So she was in the Baxter family, but not a Baxter. She was at Sunset Hills Adult Care Home, and she was in her late 80s, and she had Alzheimer's. She was a character who made a big impact on Ashley Baxter, who's one of the favorite characters for my all my readers. And I came to love Ervil. I didn't have a grandmother growing up, and so Ervil became the grandmother that I never had. And I loved spending time with her and writing about her, and she became very real to me. And I knew a time came when I knew that she was about to pass. And I thought, I'm going to write this page. And I just didn't want to write it. So I took my laptop into our bedroom, and I sat down in a chair, and I'm just writing slower and slower and slower because I don't want to say goodbye to Ervil. And I know her time is coming. And I knew she'd be okay. She'd be with her husband, Hank. Hank had been gone for 8 years. She'd be with her friends, but I just didn't want to leave her behind here. So I'm writing more and more slowly, but finally Ervil took her last breath. And now I just had to have like a moment where I could grieve that. And so I set my laptop down on the floor and I just was crying, like really crying, put my head back on the chair and just letting the tears just stream down my face. And about that time, my husband was outside playing ball with the boys and he needed a sweatshirt. So he came running into the room and he saw me and he stopped and he said, Karen, what's wrong? What's wrong? And I said, Herbal died. And so he gets just like extremely worried look. His eyes get kind of big. And he said, Herbal? Terrible, honey. I'm so sorry. Now, do we know her from church or from school? So I'm still crying. And I was like, honey, no, she's one of my characters. So now my husband like rolls.
Here comes the pragmatic guy.
Like all the way to the ceiling. He's like rolling his eyes. He's like, what? He goes, Karen, I don't feel sorry for you. What? You killed her.
Thank you. Good.
He's like, backspace delete, bring her back. Like, you don't have, like you made it up. What are you doing? So he didn't understand. And he's still that way. I'll still laugh. Like I'll be laughing while I'm writing or crying. And he's like, just shakes his head. Like he's kind of just dearly loved that weirdness in me. But anyway, Herbal was everyone's favorite. Everyone loved sweet Herbal. She would sip her peppermint tea and she would sit in the front room and wait for Hank to come back from fishing, even though he'd been gone for 8 years. And she was just genteel and of the old days, And so I did the math and I figured out, hey, Herbal was a World War II girl. And I thought about it and I thought, wonder what her life was like. And it was like God told me, well, she was a spy for World War II. For the U.S. military. She was actually one of the first ones to be a spy. They had 4,900 spies and 2,700 of them were women. I thought that was Herbal. And Hank would have been off, of course, to World War II. And so imagine them sitting in the front room listening to the radio when the news came across that Pearl Harbor had been attacked. And what would that love story have looked like? Because there was a time where she was actually dating Hank's brother and she was just friends with Hank. So how did that resolve? And I thought, oh my goodness, I have a love story set against World War II and I couldn't wait to write it. And people have been waiting for it. I delayed it because I was working on this movie that we just made. And so it's like a year late, which never happens, but that's what happened. I told my publisher, look, I have to strike while the iron's hot. I'm making a movie. So everyone has been on pins and needles waiting for Just Once, and it comes out November 14th.
Man, I'm on pins and needles. I'm going to read this one.
You're going to read this one. I love it.
I'm not a big, I don't read a lot of love novels. I know as emotional as I am, you would think I just read them all the time.
You have so much love, you don't need to add it.
That's right. But I'm going to read this one because knowing the backstory, not Baxter's story. Well, that too, but the backstory. I can't wait to read about the beginning of Herbal's life and this beautiful love story. It's going to be fun.
Just Once comes out in November, right?
November 14th.
Yes. November 14th in stores.
Wherever books are sold.
Wherever books are sold.
That's right.
Thank you, guys. Why don't we take a quick break? We'll be right back with more from Karen because she's got a movie coming out. She's got a production company.
I mean, other than that, she's not doing much.
She's not doing much, but we'll talk to her right after this.
Welcome. What are y'all singing?
Just Once. Just Once.
That's the name of her book, but it reminds me of
a song.
Yeah.
James Ingram.
Oh, James Ingram. Okay. Well, welcome back, everybody. We're singing James Ingram songs, talking to Karen Kingsbury. It's a great day. But but you know what? She is so busy doing all this stuff. Got the new book coming out November 14th called Just Once. And then we haven't.
Yes, you know that song too.
I love music. Are you kidding? That's not an accident. I have a book called Even Now, and When We Were Young. And I love songs.
I love it. But in the middle of all this stuff, you have a movie coming out also, which you also started your production company. Tell us about the production company first, and then let's talk about the movie.
So this all happened last year, and it just really all happened very quickly. It was probably April, where we've been waiting for a long time. The Baxters, there are 3 seasons that are made, and they're sitting in MGM's can in the shelf there, and they're trying to figure out what to do with it. And it's just there's a lot of fear, in mainstream Hollywood kind of thing. And if we release season 1, then what if nobody wants it and they don't want season 2 and 3? And they're just like, so anyway, I'm trying to get it back.
Right.
It was like a moment of sort of, okay, Lord, like maybe I have just once to be able to make a difference here. And my husband just lovingly, he just said, Karen, if we have to sell everything, you need to open your own production company and we need to make a movie. And it was just like, that's where you love, like for me, I do a lot of things and I can, maybe people think I'm so strong or whatever. But I have a godly husband who is my spiritual leader for me. And it's true. It's not old fashioned or outdated. It's so important for women to understand that I build him up. I honor him. We laugh, we play, we take walks, but he has moments in our marriage where I can just picture I would have been rudderless. I wouldn't have known which direction to go, except for that he had a pronouncement of just encouragement that changed everything. And that's what that was on that day. And so we talked about it in the past, but I always kind of walked away from it because, well, first how are you going to pay for it? Like there's all these things that are so insurmountable. But we had come to a point where we had an investment that had come to fruition and we had a couple $1 million. That sounds like a lot of money. It is a lot of money. But what do you do with it then? Like we absolutely love giving. We love being a part of ministries and different things. But this is where my husband, Donald, said, let's pay for it ourselves. We won't take a paycheck out of it. We'll pay it to people. We'll pay them well. We'll love them well. And we'll make a beautiful movie. And that's what we did. So I had to look through my stories and another song title, Someone Like You, that is the book that, that's the title of this particular story. I thought about which book would make a great first theatrical movie. And that one seemed the most cinematic. It's a love story, but it's complicated. It involves loss and family division, redemption and hope. The story of two twin sisters separated at the Petri dish. Embryos that one implanted in the family who did the IVF and the other one donated away with signing off, there's no connection and it gets passed from a doctor to a couple and now it stays on ice for 4 years, cryopreservation. That's a part of embryo, kind of the embryo process. There are 500,000 embryos on ice right now, actually. Awaiting adoption. And we have a One Chance Foundation. We give grants for adoption and we've given grants even for embryo adoptions. And we have pictures of families that they already had a boy and a girl, but they just wanted to rescue one. They took an embryo and they implanted it in the mom and had this baby that's an embryo baby. So anyway, the premise here is that the girl who was the embryo adoption didn't know. Her parents never told her. She was born from her mom. So there never would have been a thought of adoption until somebody shows up at the zoo where she works and says, hey, I have information about your adoption and tragic news about your sister. And all of that just rocks her world. So it's got a lot of uncommon themes and storylines, which I really like that as well. So okay. So once we made the decision to do Someone Like You as the movie, we ended up, it was like this fast roller coaster that we had jumped on. And I first talked with my son, Tyler, is a director, but he'd never done a theatrical feature. And so I said, Tyler, would you please pray about this? Now he and I screenwrite. We've written some movies that have been on Hallmark, different ones that the whole season of 1,000 Tomorrows on PureFlix. That came in the spring and it's done really well for PureFlix. We wrote that. But so I said, will you help me write this script? And so he did. And I said, now I want you to pray about directing it because I know you're ready. Honestly, I didn't think anybody would get it the way Tyler would. And so he was like, I think it felt really overwhelming, but he prayed about it and he said, I'm all in. So we had our director. And then he had a friend in town who was gaining some really great reputation about being a director of photography, doing the camera work. So I brought him in and we talked about it. And I said, are there enough people in Nashville to pull this off? And we did a 1-day short film for him to prove it to me. And, just made up a short 10-minute film trying to see if it was possible. And it was beautiful. So I said to him, Trevor, when we get to the end of this journey, I do not want you to be watching a movie on a screen and say, if only we would have had this lens or this filter or this camera. Get it now. That's not a place that we can go cheap. We can't. I mean, again, it costs less because I didn't take a paycheck on it. I said, we're going to make this movie and we're going to trust God that it will happen at $2 million, which is pennies for a movie. So we were able to bring together a Nashville crew, got a casting director, Ricky Maslar, who helped us pick the cast. I had a couple of people in mind. The guy who plays Ryan Taylor in the Baxters is Jake Allen. He's the actor. And I knew I wanted him to be my Dawson Gage for this movie. And he was open. He was excited to do that. But the rest of the people we had to cast, I mean, we actually, it was like thousands of people auditioned for each part. You couldn't believe it.
I bet.
And so finally we had our cast. And so we started filming October 7th last year. And we filmed for 25 days in Nashville. We got to film at the Nashville Zoo. No one's ever been able to do that. So I went into Jim Bartu's office, Jim Bartu of the Nashville Zoo. You know how that goes. It was like the whole thing felt like a Dr. Seuss day. And I said, what we wanted to do, that our girl works in kangaroos and we need to be in the kangaroo exhibit. And he said, yeah, we don't do that. And I said, but if we did.
If we did, otherwise.
And like Jim just kept listening. And eventually we had it all. So one by one, we found our locations. And like I'm on the ground making decisions and praying and asking for God's wisdom and favor minute by minute. And he provided it. Last week we were at in Alabama at Smith Lake. The character Dawson Gage lives in a beautiful house on the lake. And so we found this glass house and we were able to rent it for 4 days. And we cheated with some lake shots came from Nashville. You wouldn't know it watching the movie, but because we had to keep the lake house shots on those 4 days. Sure. We didn't have time beyond that. So it was so fun. It was so wild and so crazy. Finished. We wrapped up mid-November. And now the movie is ready. Like I can send you a link and you can watch it. It'll be in theaters April 11th. And we're still doing what they, call the color correction and sound design and that kind of thing. But by the end of, certainly by the middle of this month, we'll have that completely ready to go. And so now, as you can imagine, now it's the marketing. And guess who is my number one partner? I'm doing something that I don't think anyone's ever done, maybe because they can't, probably, because usually you have investors and studios. There's so many people who have to make decisions, but it's just us. So we're trying to gather 10 partners with extensive reach who will not have to pay us anything. We don't want them to pay us, but we want to pay them 1% of the theatrical release. So we give them 1%, a 1-minute trailer in front of the movie. When my movie will be in theaters, they'll have a 1 minute that they'll have to produce. That's going to be a beautiful piece on whatever their thing is about.
Oh, cool.
And 1 page in the back of the movie edition of the book, which comes out in March. So they get that. And what they give me is they just tell their people about the movie. And they tell their people. So I have Compassion, for instance, which is just extensive reach. And I want to give 1%. If we make, if it's a $50 million box, I get to write a $500,000 check to Compassion. But guess what? Liberty is one of my partners. So
awesome. I didn't know
that's
that.
super exciting. Yeah, that's just coming together. I'm praying.
I love that idea.
I feel like God gave me the vision of 10 extensive partners, and combined it'll be reaching more than 100 million people. So it's exciting.
Oh man, that is awesome. Well, it's going to do well. I know it is.
Yeah.
It's going to be amazing. And I can't wait to see it.
Yeah.
Well, I'll send you a link. You and Shay can watch it. It can be your date night.
She would love that. A date night with Shay.
Hey.
And a sneak preview. So Shay will be excited about the whole date night idea.
Yeah.
It's been a while.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's good. Thank you.
Fantastic.
So let me ask you this, just as we wrap up, because we asked you this before. Remember her answer the last time?
What was it?
Her answer
For this question.
to what I was made for this? I'm trying to remember. It's been a year and a half, 2 years.
Do you remember your answer? We asked you this question of what would you be made for if you weren't doing what you're doing and money wasn't an object and time wasn't any constraint?
I don't know. Did she answer? We
talk
have
about
a
a
production
movie?
company.
I think I did. I'll bet I did. It's
But
always been on my
I
heart.
think you actually did. And
Yeah.
I think she mentioned the fact that she wanted to make movies from her. And here we are 2 years later, and that's what you're doing. God is so good.
He's so good. He's so
Wow.
faithful. My prayer just keeps being out of James 1 that he gives generously without finding fault. Wisdom. Wisdom is the gift that he's given us along the way. And I just keep praying for that. I don't have any stress as we head into this marketing window, and, you know, win or lose, like, I just don't have any stress. God gave us the movie. He gave us it was like, you know, to use a sports analogy, you have 1.5 seconds. When a fastball leaves the pitcher's hand, you have 1.5 seconds to decide whether you're going to hit that ball, whether you're going to swing the bat or not. And that's what this moment was in time. I felt like God has been saying to me, I want you to be an Esther. I want you to talk to this culture and this generation for such a time as this. And that fastball was coming down the plate, and my husband said, let's swing. And here we are. So I have no stress. We're just going to do what we're supposed to do.
Ooh, that's good. That's good. Mark Battison phrases it in his book. I believe it's the book If. You know, everybody has 20 seconds of insane courage in their life at some point where you got to decide. It's the same analogy, different time frame, but it's really a beautiful way to close out this podcast for those of you listening. There may be a vision in your heart. There may be something you've been wanting to do your whole life. Maybe now is that 1.5 seconds that you're going to decide to swing. You just never know how God's going to use you. But if you don't swing, you'll never know.
No.
Man, Karen, thank you so much for all that you just kind of invested with us and our listeners.
Oh, thank you. This is the first chance I've had to talk about it. So it's just, I feel like I'm right there in the room with you and our friends who are with us too, that just, it's exciting to see what God is doing and what he's doing in your life as well. So thank you for having me.
Karen Kingsbury, Just Once, comes out November 14th. That's the book. April 11th, Someone Like You .movie. That's the new movie. It's called Someone Like You, but you can find out more about it at someonelikeYou.movie. Make sure that you keep up with Karen Kingsbury and her amazing talents, her amazing just outreach and ministry to the hearts and minds of people all over the world. We love you, Karen.
Love you too. Thanks so much for having me. You guys have a great day, and God bless you all.
Awesome.
See ya.